Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Astrology with your friend Gretchen Heidel, full-time astrologer, life coach, Reiki master, and so much more. And I am here live tonight. It's our Monday night time that we have together, going live about this week in astrology. And if you see me looking up and down, that's because I'm co-recording. I have two cameras, one for Facebook, one for YouTube. And welcome if you are just joining me live tonight. I'm going over this week in astrology. This is the week of February 27th, 2023, and I'm going to be going over some larger astrological things that are, yes, relevant this week, but also I'm going to be starting to cover the Saturn moving into Pisces. And so I feel like that's going to be a two-part conversation. So maybe this Monday and next Monday, I'll be covering both both times because it's a big topic. It deserves actually multiple conversations. So I'm going to be covering that, and that's a 2-year-long thing. So it's not just tonight, it's not just this week, it's going to be many months and years to come, actually. So welcome if you're just joining me tonight here on Monday night. Again, co-recording on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you are just joining me live here on Facebook, go ahead and comment below your astrological sign, what your sun sign, rising, and moon, if you know it, and also where you're tuning in from. I love to hear where everybody's tuning in from and watching, so welcome. And also, I'd like to know that my broadcast is working too. Oh, hey, Melinda, welcome. Capricorn in Vermont, mooning Cancer, welcome. That's awesome. I love that. Anybody else joining, go ahead and post your comments below. I know I have a lot of silent watchers, but it does help the algorithm when you like the post and you comment on the post and you share the post, because that does help get to the good word to be spread here in this evening. I'm going to be going over a lot of stuff that's happening. We have some astronomical and astrological news that's going to be relevant this week. And we do have the start of some things going on, but mostly the big news is actually coming, and I'm going to start to do this in a two-part conversation, like I said, with Saturn moving into Pisces. We have the full moon coming next week too, so we have some stuff happening and stuff going down. So welcome if you're just joining. Almir, hello. Taurus sun, Cancer moon. We have 2 Cancer moons watching, at least that I know of, and Sagittarius rising. And so thank you for joining me tonight live here on Facebook. Today on Monday, February 27th, we had the first quarter lunar cycle. That actually happened overnight between last night and today. The peak of it was 3:06 a.m. Eastern time, or 12:06 a.m. if you're out on the West Coast. So really overnight between Sunday and Monday here. And the moon is in Gemini, and then it was squaring the sun in Pisces. That's what always happens when the first quarter lunar cycle takes place. It's when we see half of a moon in the sky. And so it's a little confusing, the title, because it's called a quarter moon phase, because there's 4 quarters in a month. There's 4 moon phases, in a month. But really it's the half moon. So there's new moon, full moon, and then there's 2 half moons. And so this particular second quarter lunar cycle was between the sun in Pisces and then the moon squaring Gemini. So if you are a Pisces or a Gemini, definitely you would be feeling this a lot, but you don't have to be, because this is continuing. This is what I have nicknamed the second chance new moon. I've nicknamed it the second chance new moon. We had the new moon already last Monday, so this Monday we're having the half of a moon, and it is taking place in the mutable signs, because the new moon was in Pisces, and now we have Gemini moon. So it's always a time of sort of continuing on, we're kind of deepening our work of the new moon. We're focusing on what do we want to manifest, what do we want to bring into our life, and more or less solidifying plans, If you go to the farmer's sort of analogy, it's where we basically are figuring out, do we need a more fertilizer or more water or whatever the case may be? That's what we're doing. So if we're planting new seeds on the new moon, in other words, we're figuring out do our plans need to be tweaked or not? And that happened today. The second chance new moon is a lot more, we'll say, mild and kind of friendly than the second chance full moon. Because if you think of the full moon, it's like another little like repeat of we're going to be deepening that work. Hello, Kathleen, Leo in Vermont. Melinda said she is Scorpio rising. I wasn't sure if you were saying Saturn or what that was, Melinda. You had a little typo there. Rita, Virgo in Colorado, welcome. And so good to see everybody. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing the post, because it does get more viewers and it gets up there in the algorithm. And this is our Monday night, so welcome. All right, so I have so that was overnight between last night and today. The second chance new moon. It does look very pretty in the sky, by the way. I think the half moons, I think they look very pretty. And that did happen at 3:06 a.m. Eastern time. Now, we have a big astronomical / astrological, it's all astronomical, isn't it, though, really? But we do have a Sky Watcher event this week going on, and it has been going on actually all month, sky watching. So if anybody knows what I'm about to say, there's a big conjunction this week between Venus and Jupiter. That's kind of the big news this week, is Venus and Jupiter are coming together. Now, why is it big news? Because they are really the two brightest planets in the sky, other than the sun and the moon, which, you know, the sun's a star. And so Venus and Jupiter being the brightest, and Jupiter is one of the largest planets in our solar system. That's a big, huge deal when they come together. They are going to be visible together in the sky. They already are. You might have seen some pictures, like people are posting pictures of, you know, Venus and Jupiter hanging out with the moon and doing different things. And they're getting just closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. So the peak of it is this week. And you might have noticed them inching together. So if you extend your arm all the way out I should go like this, all the way out as farthest out, they're going to be so close that they will be just a pinky length apart, and that's what we call a conjunction in the sky. It'll be very pretty. It's going to be very bright. If we can see it, hopefully we will be able to. It does seem like when we have astronomical events, sometimes you can't see it. It's like that's the one week it's all cloudy, you know, kind of thing. But they have been coming together, and then they'll go through a period of time where they go apart too. So they'll be hanging out in the sky for a while, which is pretty cool. The peak or height of it is going to be taking place overnight, just after midnight on Thursday. So technically Wednesday, overnight Thursday. And so it's going to be on March 2nd, Thursday, at 12:36 a.m. Eastern time. So 9:36 p.m. if you're on the West Coast, and hopefully it'll be dark enough for you to see them on the West Coast. But they'll be together all night. Like I said, they've been together kind of getting close to being together all month. And so if you're a sky watcher like myself and you like to see these like cool events and take pictures on your phone, this is a good time on Wednesday night. They will be into Thursday. They will be the closest that they are. Now, here's the deal. They are going to be in Aries, in the astrological sign of Aries. Venus is in Aries, Jupiter is in Aries, and they'll be coming together both in Aries, highlighting that in our astrological charts. So it is not only just an astronomical event, it's also an astrological event. In fact, many, many years ago, back in time, back in history, astrology and astronomy were the same topic. And it wasn't only until, I think it was the 1500s that they separated. I can't remember when it happened, but it was a long time ago. And so we can't really talk about astrology without talking about astronomy. I think it's funny when people forget that. Marguerite, hello, welcome. Taurus in Florida, welcome. And if you're just joining, go ahead and comment below your astrological sign, sun, moon, rising, if you know it, and where you're tuning in from, because I love to hear. So there's a bunch of activity coming this week on Thursday. So like I said, Monday today was the first quarter lunar cycle, aka second chance new moon, and then it's kind of quiet-ish, okay, until we get to Thursday, and then there's a flurry of activity. So a lot of it is going to be building up, and getting increasing in strength and power towards Thursday. Now that Venus Jupiter conjunction, I mean, Venus and Jupiter, like lucky, good fortune, optimism, expansion. Now, you know, Jupiter makes everything bigger. If you've been a fan watching this broadcast with this journey that we've been on together since the pandemic, I did take a long break or a vacation there when I fell down the stairs and broke my legs. I did, but you guys have been watching me really in some way, shape, or form since 2019, which I think is pretty cool. Hey, Almir. Yeah, he said perfect for manifesting abundance. Exactly. Rosalie, hello. Burlington, Capricorn. Emily, Sagittarius in Vermont. Welcome, welcome. Kathleen, Scorpio, Sun, Venus, Mercury. Wow. In Vermont. Welcome. So anyway, we are going to be having, so if you get to Jupiter is everything big and basically enhances whatever it is that it touches. And Venus is the goddess of love, beauty, and also finances. We can't forget Venus is finances too. A lot of people forget that. Having those two coming together in Aries, okay, so if you are in Aries, if you have Venus in Aries, you have Jupiter, whatever you have in Aries is going to be highlighted. Even if you don't have Aries in your personal birth chart, it will still highlight an area or what I call a department or a house. And so when you think about these things, even if you aren't that sign, now if you're a Sagittarius, Leo, Aries is a fire sign, so we're going to get Sagittarius, Leo will get extra fire energy. And also if you're an air sign, Gemini, Aquarius, you guys will definitely be getting a little bit more. Now, again, Libra, Aries is opposing you, so that can be a little bit almost full moonish for you or a little more challenging. But when we talk about this particular one, it's almost like being hit with like a powder puff pillow, you know, it's like a gentle challenge, you know, it's not going to be you know, like hardcore in your face type of a challenge. So Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, and Aphrodite and all that, meeting up with Jupiter, that he was Zeus and she was Aphrodite in Greek mythology. Those two coming together is a very highly beneficial thing. So if you are wanting to manifest, remember, we're still in that new moon to full moon time. It's perfect for manifesting abundance, love. If you are an artist or you're somebody who wants to start something new, you know, Aries is all about starting something new. This is the time to do it. And again, the peak or height of it, 12:36 a.m. on overnight on March 2nd on Thursday, but early in the morning, just after midnight. So if you are just watching this, this is a good time for you to do this. Now, you know how there always is just layers with astrology, and it just is how it is. I'm not the one who makes up the rules. I'm just the reporter. Mercury on the same day is going to form a conjunction with Saturn. Now, that's a little bit kind of Debbie Downer-ish in some ways. Whenever we bring Saturn into the room, it's like, oh, hey, Saturn. It's kind of like you're 16 and you're at a party and your dad just walks in. You know, it's like the beer bong, you know, is going around and dad is like, wah, wah, like, oh, dad's here, you know, because Saturn's the dad archetypally in astrology. So it just is what it is. That's going to happen again, peaking almost the same time at 9:34 a.m. on Thursday, March 2nd. So we have Mercury forming a conjunction with Saturn. Now that's going to be in Aquarius. So definitely if you're feeling this, you're going to be feeling this in Aquarius. Now, if you're a water sign, I mentioned, you know, air and fire, you guys, you know, will be, but earth and water signs are a little more challenged by some of this. Aquarius is going to be highlighted, but here's the catch. Saturn is right at the super duper tail end of Aquarius, and so is Mercury at the very tail end of Aquarius. Both of them are. In fact, on the same day, later in the day, on Thursday, Mercury is going to move into Pisces. So it's like the 29th degree, it doesn't go to 30. It goes like 29.59. It doesn't go to 30 degrees in astrology. So the 29th degree is actually considered to be like an ending, something wrapping up. So it's going to be a weird dynamic between this Aries starting something new, and then we have this Aquarius last degree sort of situation where we're finishing up in Aquarius and we're sort of wrapping things up. So what is that? That something ends and something begins at the same time. And very often that's what happens in life. We have to maybe wrap something up, finish something, release something, or let go of something in order to gain something new. So try not this week, if you're feeling like, oh, I have to give up this thing, but then there's this new thing coming. So it's like, try not to get too like kind of caught up on the letting go, and more looking forward to the embracing, because definitely with all this pioneering Aries energy, I mean, there's a lot of planets right now in Aries going on, and because of that, especially with Jupiter kind of in Aries right now, there's a lot of Aries energy, even though it's still Pisces season. We have a lot of energy in that department. So this is really good for starting new things. We're in that in-between season. All the mutable seasons are the seasons of transition, of change. When we look at going from February to March, well, what is that? That's the sort of ending of winter, beginning of springtime, and all the mutable signs are like that. So if you were born in a transitioning time frame, that means you were most likely a mutable sign if you're in an area that has seasons, not like in the desert or something. But anyway, and I'm sure the desert has seasons too, actually. Mercury forming a conjunction with Saturn is serious. It's more about, let's make a plan. Let's be careful with our speech. Sometimes we can feel a little blocked or a little cut off with Mercury conjuncting Saturn. Because again, Mercury's having a party and Saturn walks in and is like, what are you doing? That's a little bit, the parent is now in the room and it's like, oh, you got to calm down and behave. Aries don't like to calm down and behave either. So I'll just say that. And Aquarius can be the life of the party too. It's just this Saturn thing going on. That's kind of the wah-wah. We're going to talk more about Saturn because we're going to start broaching this topic of Saturn moving into Pisces, which is a long thing, and it's going to affect everybody, and it's a big, huge deal. So stay tuned for that for sure. And if you're just joining, please go ahead and like this broadcast and share it and comment and all the good stuff, because that's what gets the algorithm rolling. So that's the big news this week. On Monday, I am gonna talk about Monday. So we had three I actually skipped over this. We have three major things happening on Thursday. Thursday is going to be, like I said, Venus conjunct Jupiter, which is a Skywatcher event and also an astrological event where we're going to be good luck, good fortune, optimism, especially in our love lives. If you guys missed that broadcast with Venus going into Aries, definitely check that out. I did like a mini just a Venus conjunct Aries broadcast on TikTok. So if you want to check that out, it's only like 10 minutes long or so. That's kind of a fun thing. And then we have Mercury being serious, coming into the room, conjuncting Saturn, grumpy Saturn. And that's also on Thursday. So even though this is the time to kind of dive off the diving board and sort of take a chance and be bold and have a risk and all these things, Mr. Saturn's going to come in and try to sort of put some kind of a container. Now, this could be healthy boundaries too. I mean, I will just say that there could be healthy boundaries coming with Saturn on that day, because we can't just go totally wild and crazy, although Aries and Aquarius they can be BFFs, those two, and really could raise some shenanigans for sure. But Saturn's going, everybody calm down, But later in the day on Thursday, March 2nd, at 5:52 p.m. Eastern time, Mercury is going to actually then move out of Aquarius, that last degree of Aquarius, and move into Pisces. Now, we are deepening into Pisces season. Mercury usually is in each sign roughly about 2 weeks or so, sometimes 3 weeks. And so Mercury will be in Pisces all the way until March 19th, 2023. And then it'll move into Aries. We'll be officially getting into Aries season actually coming, which is also the spring equinox on March 20th, Monday, 2023. That's at 5:24 p.m. when the spring equinox takes effect. But we will have between March 2nd and March 19th, Mercury going to be moving into Aries. Now, Mercury again is joining the sun in Aries, Neptune, or the sun in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. We have a bunch of planets in Pisces. And so we're in Pisces season. This is all about, remember, Mercury is how we think, how we talk, how we communicate, and how we get around. So if you think about, it's our mind and our mind sort of processes. And being in Pisces is definitely more left brain than right brain. It's more creative, or maybe I mixed that up, more right brain than left brain. It's definitely more creative. It's definitely more about songs and poetry and numbers. Actually, a lot of Pisces I know are very into numbers and finances and things like that. But it is definitely more of a creative sort of sign, a little bit more dreamy and a little bit more idealistic. Really a sign that loves a good story and likes the fantasy and all those types of things. Is very Piscean. So it's good news if you're a writer or a musician or somebody that really does creative things, because this could really enhance the creative wave of life, which is a really cool thing. We have a bunch of people joining. Yay! The broadcast. Holly, welcome. Libra in Vermont. Wendy, hello, lovely Wendy. Vermont, Aquarius, awesome. Ashley, awesome. Sagittarius Sun, Taurus rising, Libra moon in Vermont also. And you run an artistry business. So, see, there you go. So anytime we have this every year, roughly in around February. So this is a good time for folks. Oh, Kelly, hello, welcome. This is a really good time for folks who are working in this creative field, creative industry, all that kind of stuff. Wendy said she's writing a book about a court gesture. Oh, that's awesome. Kelly from New York, welcome, Gemini. And so this is really good for that time frame. A lot of mercurial Pisces people I know are very creative folks, or like I said, into money. Albert Einstein was a Pisces, and I talk about that. A lot of Pisces are about money. It's funny. Either Pisces could care less about money, or like it's just fun to play with numbers. Like, I don't know. Obviously, any sign can be materialistic, but I don't know too many solely focused on money and solely focused on that. It's more about like playing a game. It's kind of like an interesting way that Pisces sort of play with numbers. It is said that Neptune rules over the stock market. So like, what is the stock market? Nobody knows. It goes up, it goes down. I don't know. There's a big printer in the sky that prints that green stuff called money. Nowadays, it's some sort of nebulous number that's in a digital format on our phone. So it's interesting because when you think about Pisces being much more like ethereal and sort of like metaphysical and kind of like a little bit more dreamy and whatever, I feel like numbers really resonate with Pisces. Also, too, because Pisces is so strongly, and Neptune so strongly associated with music, that is another thing. So let's transition into what Saturn in Pisces is going to be like, because we're talking so much about Pisces here. I will say this, and I'll just do this as an honorable mention. On Monday, which I'll see you guys next Monday night, but it'll happen after this particular thing happens. There is a Uranus transit. Sun is going to be sextile Uranus on Monday, March 6th, 2023, 8:42 a.m. Eastern time on Monday morning. So watch that commute to work. You know, even sextiles sometimes, I always say you got to watch the players. You got to, who's the players? Well, it's the sun and Uranus. Uranus, you know, is shakeups, unexpected events. So it could be a lively Monday morning, but also there could be something unexpected or surprising about it. Or nervous or anxious or whatever, because Uranus tends to be that way. So Monday, going in from Sunday to Monday, even Saturday, we could even be feeling that one. But the peak of it, like I always say, is on Monday, 8:42 a.m. In the morning. So you have to be kind of let yourself be open to, you know, maybe taking an alternative route or whatever if you commute to work. Okay, let's talk about Saturn going into Pisces, because that's a huge conversation. I'm going to do this in like 2 parts. I'm going to like sort of briefly skim the surface tonight, talking about this 2.5 year long thing. It's going to be going on all the way until 2026 in some way, shape, or form. It's 2023 now. So this is going to be with us. This is a long-term thing. And I definitely want to talk more about it. I haven't done my full like plunging in and doing all the stuff with it, but you know, we just had Saturn in Aquarius the last 2.5 years. Okay, so if you guys have been watching me for a long time, and I know many of you have, and I've been so blessed, I feel like, with a lot of loyal followers and people that join me. Saturn was in the astrological sign of Aquarius for the last 2.5 years. Now, Saturn in Aquarius was very technology oriented, and I predicted, like, and that, if you think about it, that was around like the start of the pandemic and lockdowns and COVID and all. And I was saying that we were going to get further and deeper into the digital age as Saturn was in Aquarius. Well, look at what has happened. You know, Zoom. Okay. Yeah. Zoom already was a thing, but when it went into, when Saturn went into Aquarius, it was a, you know, blew up Zoom. Also AI. Okay. ChatGPT, is a thing now. AI is a thing. So, yes, artificial intelligence was already around and we've been working with that, but look at AI. Now, if you think about Saturn and Aquarius, Saturn was in Aquarius at the time of the development of the World Wide Web. The WWW was born in Saturn and Aquarius. So Saturn and Aquarius, WWW, actually went through its Saturn return. So I thought that was very interesting. We had talked about that. And so, I mean, look, we're at the tail end. I mean, we only have another like roughly week of this left of Saturn and Aquarius. We're at the very, very end of Saturn and Aquarius. And so I talked about how we would further and deeper into the digital world, how there would be empty office buildings, how technology would take a flying leap forward, and all sorts of things about Saturn and Aquarius. Well, now we're wrapping that up. And now we're going to be going on to the next thing. There are, in my humble opinion, and a lot of astrologers' humble opinion, there are 2 planets that are 2 of the most predictive planets in the solar system, in our charts. One is Jupiter. Good luck, good fortune, optimism, expansion. And we just talked about how Venus is forming the conjunction with Jupiter just this week. But it's also Saturn. Now, I just said Saturn's like the adult in the room. Saturn's considered to be like father time, okay? He is, we actually call him Big Daddy Saturn because he is the dad. I mean, he gave birth to all his children are Pluto and Jupiter and Neptune, and all the other planets are his children. So we call him Big Daddy Saturn because of that. And Saturn's kind of at large and in charge. And so I love to show this. I use Linda Goodman's star cards. They are out of print, but I think you can still get them on like eBay or Amazon or something. But Linda Goodman's star cards. But I love to show this artist rendition of Saturn because I feel really like he's a grumpy old man. He's a curmudgeon, you know. He's what's going on and what's in your life, and don't do this, young man or young lady or whatever, you know, they them. And this is Saturn I'm talking about in that picture. I love that artist's depiction of him because I do feel like he is kind of like that grumpy sort of fatherly figure. And so when he is in each time, if you guys have ever had an astrological reading from me, you know I spend a lot of time talking about what Saturn in your personal astrological chart, like what life lesson were you born with, because he's life lessons, he's obstacles, delays, he's goals, he's time, and he's kind of like work. He's our spiritual and literal work sometimes. So there's two positions where you're looking at. You're looking at where was Saturn at the time you were born. That's your whole life lesson right there. Then there's the transiting Saturn. And that's what I'm talking about tonight, is the transiting Saturn. What's going on now in the sky? Saturn we're wrapping up the end of Saturn in Aquarius, and now we're going into Saturn in Pisces. The very first day is going to be on Tuesday, March 7th, the same day as the full moon. Ugh. Okay, Tuesday, March 7th at 8:35 a.m. Eastern Time, Saturn will be in Pisces officially. I'm getting goosebumps on it because it's just such a big topic. I mean, Saturn is really, really a big deal. And so Saturn in Pisces, you will have this in your astrological chart. Most likely, if you were born between like 1994 and 1996, that was the last time, or 93 to 96, really, that was the last time Saturn was in Pisces. It wasn't in Pisces 100% of the time at that time, but mostly in that sign at that time. So if that's the case, you will be roughly approaching your Saturn return. So that means you'll be around the age of 29 years old. Or again, between 1964 and 1967, if you have that, that might be in your personal chart. And then also 1935 to 1938. And so those are the times, the last chunks of time. Now think about 93 to 96, 64 to 67, and 1935 to 38. Those were big times in history. The 35 to 38 time, you know, that's when Adolf Hitler was coming up to power and rising up. 64 to 67, we were in the Vietnam War already, but it was definitely accelerating and getting kind of, you know, ramping up. So it is a big, huge deal to know where Saturn is in your personal chart and how, you know, how that's affecting your Saturn, but also where Pisces is in your astrological chart to know what house or what zone that it is in. And like I told you, we're going to be talking much more in reference to all of this stuff because really March this year, and like I've given you a heads up, I've been talking about this. March this year is like the super highway of like craziness. There's going to be a lot of change coming in March. It's like the gateway to a lot of new cycles. We have Saturn moving into Pisces, Pluto's moving into Aquarius, Mars is moving into Cancer all this month. Plus we have, you know, full moons and some other stuff. So there's a lot of big things going on that are happening, and it's just going to be a lot, especially with these big planets on the move. So I'm going to kind of break them down individually as we go, because if I tried to condense it all into one broadcast, it would just be so much. So I'm going to try to do it like in baby slices. But basically, Saturn in Pisces is all of the Pisces stuff. Only again, for 2.5 years, we're going to be head on into that department. Now, Pisces in an astrological chart, which we are in right now, we're in Pisces season right now. The sun's there now. Mercury is going to be there. We have other planets there too, like Neptune and some other things. Pisces is the natural ruler of the 12th house in an astrological chart. So if anybody has ever had a session with me personally, or if you've ever had Saturn going through your 12th house, or if I've talked about your 12th house at all during a session, you know that I nicknamed the 12th house the area of rest, renew, rejuvenate, and restore. It's the time, it's the last house. It's the last zone. Pisces is the last. Remember I said earlier with Mercury, Pisces is the last sign. So it's kind of like, you ever have a time in your life you have like a lot of stuff happen, maybe some shenanigans, maybe some just life stuff. Let's use the example, because I like to make these esoteric sort of things more like available to like what you, so let's say you went through a time of a lot of stuff like in your life, like it was, let's say it was a divorce, and you went through this divorce and you had to figure out you got into like a kind of an apartment, and you got this temporary thing, and you got the kids, and you're not sure what to do, and your finances are getting split up and all these things. And let's say everything kind of gets settled and is completed, but you're not yet ready to move on to the next part yet. Like maybe buying your own house, or maybe like enrolling your kids in a different school system, or maybe like setting up your own finances. Like you're kind of like in that in between where everything just sort of ended and everything new hasn't yet begun just yet. You're like in that in between state. That's the 12th house. The 12th house is the time where you're supposed to go, we just finished. We're going to sit down and I'm going to just take a minute before I start this new thing. I'm going to just take a minute. That's kind of the 12th house in the astrological chart. So Saturn being in the 12th house, a lot of people contact me initially. I'll be looking right at their 12th house. Now, if you have Aries rising, Saturn literally is going to be in your 12th house. If you have Aries rising sign in your chart right now, currently, and you were born that way, that is going to be Saturn in the 12th house for you. Okay. And so that's the time to sort of reflect on yourself. Now, in almost every religion that we have, in reference to like, let's say Jesus or Buddhism or whatever, there's always this like story of like, let's say Buddha, like going to the mountain, and kind of having that, maybe what you would call dark night of the soul. Like you sit there, you pray, you meditate, a storm came, and like you came out of that, and then you had that moment to reflect. Buddha reflected on everything and had all these awakenings and these epiphanies. That is the 12th house. But that's also what Saturn in Pisces is going to be like. Pisces is very, very strongly associated with faith, with not just religion, but faith itself. Like, it could be associated with religion for sure. Ideologies, faith-based stuff, like what are your beliefs and all that type of thing. Now, you might say, oh, that's very similar to Jupiter. It is a little bit, but that's basically one of those things. It's like, where do you want to go? What do you want to be? Are you in faith? Are you aligned with, some kind of a higher consciousness or a higher faith? That's what the 12th house is best known for. That's the highest expression of the 12th house. A lot of people, it's like time to reflect on yourself, your own life, and what's true, what's not true, your subconscious mind, your hidden like thoughts, and your past and your present. And oh my God, I spent my whole life doing this particular thing and it's not healthy for me, maybe, or like whatever. It's very much confronting your subconscious, your unconscious patterns, also your faith and your beliefs in God, Buddha, Allah, whoever. And if you're agnostic or atheist, maybe it's about finding a faith, or maybe it's about connecting to nature. I mean, a lot of people find God through nature, I mean, that can be a faith too. If you think about Adolf Hitler and going back to Nazi Germany and all that, and that was taking hold during during one of the Saturn in Pisces to signs. Sometimes it's about figuring out, like, maybe this path or this belief system isn't very good. And so it's all about this stuff, this questioning. And we could see some really crazy stuff going on in this next 2.5 years. So just like I predicted with Saturn going into Aquarius, this is Saturn in Pisces. There's going to be all kinds of religious stuff. I'm just going to put that out there. Whether that be good or bad, there's going to be all kinds of religious types things. I've noticed in my personal little bubble, in my personal little area of life, I do have, pretty good amount of followers, but I've seen people posting about finding God lately, or returning back to church, or going in, actually even leaving their new age sort of ways, and leaving their new age practices, and going more into like a more organized religion. There's going to be a lot of that. There might even be some wacko, I'm sorry I'm using that word, but there could be some cultish sort of faith, kind of things going on. This is going to be the last sort of step before we start, anew in Aries. But we can't start new before we kind of like figure out what's been happening and what's been going on. So we're going to be, and I think if you think about the times, I think we are in a crisis of faith. I kind of alluded to that in our last broadcast when we were talking about, because, it's been dark, and it's been, a lot of change has been happening, but it hasn't been fun, and I think as we keep going deeper into this work that we're going into it, if you think about Aquarius, I always talk about Aquarius is like the humanitarian, wants to make the world a better place. Pisces is very similar to that, but here's the difference. Aquarius is more about setting policy and sort of what's good for humanity as far as, what are we going to do? Where Pisces is kind of more in the trenches with one-on-one. Instead of setting a big policy, it's like, because Pisces can be very compassionate, empathetic, intuitive. I call Pisces the bleeding heart. I have my moon in Pisces, so I'm not throwing stones at glass houses here. I love my Pisces brethren here, brothers and sisters. But having this, sort of crisis of faith, I think is going to be an interesting thing. And remember what I always say, and if you guys have had sessions with me, the beginning part of when Saturn moves into any sign or any new area of a chart is always a big, huge deal, because it's like, oh, okay, here's a new set of problems. I'm sorry to say that because you guys want me to be positive, and I know that, but it's kind of like popping the hood of a car that you haven't serviced in a long time, and you pop the hood up and you go, oh shoot, I haven't looked at this in forever. Needs an oil change, needs a new belt, alternator transmission, no, that's not looking good. It's like we're looking at something now that we haven't really had a chance to look at. And what Saturn specializes in is Saturn dives into that department and really grinds it, and attacks it in a way from every angle. So if you think about that technology, science angle that Aquarius has been having, and we've been like looking at science and vaccines and new remedies and formulas and medicines, and then also AI and all this computer technology stuff, and even Bitcoin and things like that. That's been very Aquarius lens. Now we're moving into this Pisces of like, okay, but what does it mean for an individual, on each and every person? Because there's a person behind that computer. Jeez. Now here's the catch. And the catch is Pluto it's almost like they're in a relay race, and Saturn's like, here you go, man. And is passing the baton. Yes, I have a selenite wand in my lap. Passing the baton for Pluto. And Pluto is about to pick up that baton and keep going with the Aquarius stuff. Pluto is about to go in Aquarius, and like I said, on March 23rd, 2023, and is going to be in Aquarius for 21 years. So I have part 2, part B, part C, part D coming of these layers that I'm talking about. So we have a lot of changing of the guard taking place during this month, where it's almost like a relay race with Saturn, Pluto, and Mars. And if you think about those 3 planets, yes, and Mercury too, and the Sun too, and Venus too, which are the normal planets, but when we get these outer planets changing, it's a big, huge, huge, big deal, because we're talking about Pluto alone is almost almost a generation of people. I mean, there's gonna be an entire generation of people with Pluto and Aquarius being born, and that's going to be very interesting. And I'm going to talk about that more in another broadcast, because it's going to be too much in one broadcast. And I'm just skimming the surface of Saturn and Pisces. So Saturn being in Pisces for this extra long time, or it's a normal long time, but it's always 2.5 years. So there's always a beginning, middle, and end with Saturn. The beginning part is, okay, what's the new sort of problem? Because I really do feel like Saturn's the master problem solver. Saturn is here to sort of help us. Remember, he's like the dad. He's there to help us, but he's also there to kind of like put rules, regulations in place and kind of figure things out. Now we can't wrap up things neatly with a bow in each and every time that Saturn goes into a new sign, but it definitely is like the initiating of that thing, and that's going to be Saturn and Pisces. Gwen said she'd rather have a heads up than blind positivity. Thank you. Erin said, thank you for the heads up. More grounding, more focus on centeredness in our true discernment. Exactly. Holly said, whatever gets you through the night, laugh out loud. Rita said, what about you, Crane? 2.5 years. Yes. Aaron said 2.5 years. We're going to see some crazy stuff. We are, especially with this ideology, sort of religion, even when you think about Hitler, because that was during that time from 1935 to 1938. If you think about Saturn and Pisces at that time, and we can't just say it was just Saturn and Pisces. I want to be very clear about that, but that was a big chunk of time. That was almost like a fanatical, it was, obviously, it wasn't almost, it was fanatical. And it was like this sort of ideology and this belief system. And even fascism was like kind of running rampant at that time. There was just a lot of things going on where there was like this blind sort of belief and faith in like these things. So we have to be very careful of false leaders, false prophets, false, they're going to solve the world's problems and this and that, because we could be susceptible to that. Remember, Pisces is a little bit, I love, again, Pisces, but it's idealism. It's about having that rose-colored glasses on all the time. And so sometimes, when Adolf Hitler sort of came in to power at that point, it was he was very charismatic. There was people who actually thought he was like awesome sauce, and he was like the next new, whatever, the next Messiah or whatever kind of thing. And so that was just, no, we have to be very careful of that with Saturn and Pisces, like those false leaders and those false prophets and people like that, because we could be susceptible. Cult leaders and different things, different people like that, have a little bit more, we'll just say charisma and possibly power. But again, the positive side of this, if we're looking at our own self, people are going to be sort of looking at their own faith, at their own subconscious mind, unconscious mind, their own patterns about what makes them happy. A lot of people very, very first come to me when Saturn is in their 12th house, or planets are in their 12th house in general, because it's the time to sort of look inside internally and do that personal inventory. You have to it's like, okay, I just went through a lot of shit, and then basically coming out of that, before you start something new, you have to just sit and take an assessment and take a personal inventory. What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What are my unconscious beliefs and patterns, or subconscious beliefs and patterns, and things like that? I am going to say, unfortunately, Saturn in Pisces is going to be a time of even more with addiction type stuff, because Pisces, when Pisces is unhappy, they are prone to drinking, drugs, and different things like that. So that can be a thing also during this time that we have to be careful of. But also coming up with some sort of spiritual practice for yourself. That's another thing. Yeah, yeah. Wendy said between North Korea, China, Russia, we have quite a dance to sidestep. I know exactly. Kelly said you have Saturn conjunct Sun, Mercury in the 11th house in Gemini natally. Okay, so your Saturn's going to be square your natal Saturn, Kelly, because your Saturn's in Gemini, it sounds like, and then Pisces, Saturn in Pisces is squaring Gemini, and so. Yeah, Holly, I think you're right. It's all about balance and keeping a level head. And I do feel that that is a thing, you know, with Saturn and Pisces, we have to keep a balance and a level head. So when we talk about, I'm just going to quickly go through some key things that we can expect with Saturn and Pisces. And I have even more to talk about next week in reference to this topic. But for sure, religious and political movements, that is going to be, I can't say that word all of a sudden, but in other words, we're going to have like some sort of different political movements, and hopefully to make the world a better place and not do some kind of crazy, you know, cultish weirdo thing. You know, I mean, it's like, that's what we need. We need more compassion and more empathy. That is the best use of Pisces. But remember, these things are like a scale. You go over here or it's all the way over here. So on one end, it can be like crazy cult leaders, and on another hand, it could be like a really good movement where people come back to their faith and come back to religion. It doesn't have to be crazy, but I have the feeling, knowing this world that we are in right now and knowing these patterns, social reform is another one. So I feel like we need to be, I know that I'm sounding like a bleeding heart, but I know that this is about, yeah, another layer of making the world a better place. Drugs and alcohol are going to be a thing, and there's going to need to be even more reform around that, and more cracking down on these big drug companies and different things. There's going to be, sorry to say, there's going to be more flooding. There's going to be a lot of stuff with water, in reference to like oceans or you know, water pollution and things like that, because that's all that Piscean stuff. Just like if you think about Saturn was in Aquarius, which is an air sign, the last 2.5 years. Well, what were we talking about? We were talking a lot about indoor air quality with COVID, with flus, with RSV. We were talking about making indoor air systems, and that kind of started, I would say, I think it was more in Europe and England, UK, and different areas than in the United States, but there has been a reform of air quality, making it a little bit, well, I mean, look, we just had that Ohio thing going on. That's Saturn in an air sign. Now we're gonna have Saturn in a water sign. So now we're gonna be concentrating on water issues. You know, we've already been having problems with like California and different areas. So that's gonna be, right? That's gonna be a focus. Water and oil too, because Pisces is associated with some oil stuff. So hopefully it's not a combination of water and oil where we have like some kind of, you know, big, you know, oil leak or something. And then the biggest thing, which I'm going to leave for next week, is arts and music is going to have an explosion. And that is something I am really looking forward to, because I love music. In my personal life, I've sang, I've danced, I've played instruments. I'm not Whitney Houston, but I do love to sing. And I do love to do that. And I think that arts and music are going to get a big explosion. And I think that's going to be the beneficial thing for sure. But we're going to talk more about this. It's not a one and done conversation. I don't want this broadcast to be too long, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to post below. Yeah, Aaron said water pollution, it's been a bit of a thing. Exactly, of course. And it's going to continue on. I know Wendy said, please no oil spills. I know. But we are going to definitely be having more conversations about this. Like I said, it's always jarring a little bit when Saturn goes into a new department, a new area of life. And you guys type below if you want to ask a personal question. Ashley's asked when my next video is. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to YouTube, because I am going to have more information about this on YouTube. But I broadcast live from Facebook every Monday night, and also I cross post it on YouTube. Wendy said, a good friend of yours is going in for surgery. Let me ask about that. But when I talk about us starting a new Saturn cycle, this is what it's like. So if you think about it, we got used to the way things were with Saturn over the last 2.5 years in Aquarius. I haven't really been talking too much about Saturn and Aquarius because you get comfortable, you get used to it. But it's like when we go into a new territory, it's like, oh God, this is all new. Where am I? What am I doing? We feel discombobulated because, again, we're having a new set of stuff, issues, problems, and blessings too. But we're initiating a whole new cycle. And that's when it's like, oh, what just happened? Who switched around the couch and the recliner and the table? Like, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing. That's how it feels in the body. Now, once we're there for 2.5 years and we settle in, it feels like, well, this is just normal. I don't feel any change, because we get comfortable, we get used to it, and we spend that entire 2.5 year long period of time really solving the problems, working on things behind the scenes and all that. It's just when it starts, it's always like boom, like it's like a feeling. It's big. And we, like I said, we have multiple planets transitioning this month. So it's going to be a lot. So Wendy, let me go do a card really quickly. Oh, this one fell out. So Wendy, this must be your friend's card. Well, this is a good card, actually, Wendy. When we're talking about, this is a dead tree, but a new tree, a butterfly, a metamorphosis, and a change. It's like a start of a new day for your friend. It's an unexpected, beautiful sort of thing that I feel like there's like a complete change, like a metamorphosis, like a butterfly, so that could be good. This friend is doing it under this blessed star of Venus, aligning with Jupiter. I can't think of more lovely energy, Wendy. So I hope that helps. That's hip surgery. Yeah. But I actually think it's going to be, I feel like as if it's going to be really beneficial and really positive. It feels like that hip has been a source of heartache, pain, and physical discomfort for a long time for your friend. And this feels like a butterfly. And so that's a good thing. I hope that helps, Wendy. Let's see here. Hip surgery. Okay, yes. Perfect. Ashley said she really liked hearing about art, music, and writing for the next Saturn cycle. That's amazing. You're welcome, Erin. You're welcome, Wendy. It looks like nobody else has any questions for me, but I'm going to pull one card. What do we need to know about all of this new energy? Remember, this week is not Saturn in Pisces yet. That is coming on the next full moon next week, same day. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of energy, and it's almost simultaneous. The full moon is going to be at 7:40 a.m. on Tuesday, March 7th, and then on Saturn's going to go into Pisces on the same day at 8:35 a.m. So that's like almost back to back. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. Oh, Gwen, that's awesome. Having recently had hip surgery, you absolutely feel like it's a new lease on life for you. That's awesome. Amazing. Amazing. All right, so I'm going to pull a card. What do we need to know about this week's Venus conjunct Jupiter Mercury conjunct Saturn, Mercury going into Pisces week that we are about to have. What do we need to know? Remember, this is the best week, everybody, for manifesting your hopes, your dreams, your desires, especially when it comes to arts, love, and finances. What do you need to know? Because you'll have, whatever you start during that time is going to have that in its birth chart. Think about that. Or if a baby's born during that, they'll have that in their birth chart, which would be lovely. What do we need to know about all this? Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Spread your wings. Spread your wings, okay? This is Archangel Ariel. Don't hold back right now. The timing is perfect. You are ready to soar. Remember what I said, it's going to be in Aries. This Venus conjunct Jupiter thing is going to be in Aries. And so that is going to be a blessing. Two people ask very quick. I'm just going to pull a very quick card for Kelly. Kelly asked, how did it go with your daughter's college, by the way, first choice college? What do you need to know, Kelly? Kelly, this is your card. Victory. That's your card, Kelly. Somebody else asked for a card. I'm going to pull that. Your prayers have been heard and answered. Have faith, Kelly. And Lane, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm saying that. I'm probably totally butchered that. You asked about life direction. I'm just going to pull one quick card. Passion. I feel like you need to connect with your passion. I feel like there's been a lackluster feeling around you, like they're like maybe stuck or unable to move forward because of extenuating circumstances. So you've been in this pattern maybe of waiting and waiting. So passion is trust and followed your renewed passion for love, life, and career. It means that you are going to be getting renewed passion. Lane, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I hope that helps. And you're welcome. All right, everybody. So spread your wings, get out there and fly. This is a good time and good week to do it. Make sure if you didn't write your new moon manifestation list, you can always write it. You can always write it. We will be burning it next Tuesday, but you can write it if you want to. And thank you so much for joining. If you guys want to have a personalized astrological session to explore some of these fun things, where's Pluto in your chart? Where's Saturn and Pisces in your chart? If you'd like to know further, go ahead and text or send me a private message about scheduling a personalized astrological session. And if you haven't already, make sure that you go over to YouTube and TikTok. That does help my algorithm to go up, and you guys would be helping me a lot to subscribe to my channel, not just relying on the algorithm to guide you, but subscribe to my channels, and then also like this page, follow this page so that you'll know every Monday night when I come online. If you guys wouldn't mind, post below, even after I hang up, what is a good time? I usually do this between 7:30 and 8. Is 8 o'clock better or 7:30 better for you, Eastern time? But I try to get on between that time frame. It's a little hard sometimes because I have other things on Monday, but let me know what works best. All right, everybody, lots of love. Namaste. Take care.